Hi guys, Vino here and welcome to this VinoBrunk production. And yeah, this video I've been wanting to record for quite some time. There's been a lot of things in some ways that have happened over the last week that I want to update you guys on. I've just been waiting for the right opportunity to record this video. So here we are. I don't know what this video is, if it's a time for a cup or a kickback discussion, or I'm just going to say, there's some things that have gone on the last week or so. I've actually tried to push to one side out of frame as best possible. I'm looking at my watch to see if it is out of frame. The things that have happened over the last week or so, but I'm in a really good mood at the moment for various reasons. I have the tiniest bit of Coke left at the moment, which I'm just going to take a sip of, just to wet the whistle, so to speak, to talk about what's been going on over the last week. So when I cleaned this room and tidied everything up, I got reacquainted with an old friend. Some of you don't necessarily know who this is or what this is. This is the Panasonic Lumix DMC GH1. So for the longest time I had a G3. I did a lot of research and found out that you can get a GH1 is kind of an upgrade to the G3, because what Panasonic did with their G line of cameras is they put the more professional features onto the GH line. Basically what they did is the manual settings for video mode and stuff like that were more versatile on the GH line than they were the G line. So although I had a G3 for a very long amount of time, and I loved the G3 to bits, the GH1 was actually a bit of an upgrade for me. I went to the GH1 and used it for many years. I then moved on to the Sony camera that I used, the ZV-1, which is the vlogging camera that so many people use. They've now got a different version of that out, which is basically the same camera, just with interchangeable lenses on it. I sold that camera earlier this year because I was kind of like, I'm done with YouTube. I was going through some mental things at the time, and YouTube was the last thing on my mind when it came to pursuing certain things. So I decided to sell all of my video equipment, including my camera at the time, which is the Sony ZV-1, and decided if I was going to do any videos, I'd use my phone as a result. When I then bought a webcam later on when I started up videos again, and then I learned that actually I can't get too bad footage out of my Samsung S23 Ultra, so that's what I'm recording with right now. But this was a trooper of a camera for many years. Now, when I got reacquainted with this the other day, I actually misplaced the battery charger, so I didn't know where the battery charger was. Found that literally earlier today, so this camera now works. It's all back up and running. I've actually switched it to LVF mode. Let's get rid of that. So there you go, it works. It's all back up and working. Am I going to be using it for my videos? Probably not. Unfortunately, I think this camera has seen better days. The buttons are creaky and don't always work. These switches are definitely come to the end of their time. I think, bless it, this camera is starting to get a bit old, long in the tooth. And I've actually been looking at maybe getting a GH3. So those of you that have watched one of my previous videos a few months back, is I was looking to get a Nikon or Nikon, if you want to say it that way, D7000. I've wanted a Nikon or Nikon D7000 for many years, simply because that's the camera that got away. When I went to get the GH1, what I really wanted was a GH3. The GH3 is a powerhouse when it comes to video and photography and stuff like that, and it's still to this day many people use GH3s as their main cameras, unless you're a professional YouTuber, then you probably moved on to a GH6 at this point, or GH7, whatever the latest camera they do in the GH line is nowadays. I settled for the GH1, but I've always wanted a GH3. In an ideal world, I'd love to go for a GH4 to be honest, but I don't think I'm ever going to be in a position just yet where I'm going to be able to afford a GH4. Maybe in the future, who knows, maybe I could push for a GH4, but not right now, as we'll get into in a little while. I'm in the market for a GH3. Basically, I've actually been looking now for a little while to get a GH3. Also, the memory card door on this is yeah, doesn't respond very well. You've got to put the SD card in like 3 or 4 times before it actually acknowledges that there's an SD card even in the slot. Yeah, so I think unfortunately the GH1 is coming to the end of its life, and it means I now can't sell this on, because that was another option at one point, was to sell this on and get another camera in its place. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to sell this because of all the faults that it's got. So I'm just going to have to suck it up and buy the replacement, so to speak, out of my own back pocket, for lack of a better term, and that's going to be a GH3. There are a couple of GH3s online for around the £150 mark. I have been contacting people on Facebook Marketplace to get a camera that would do a similar thing, but any time that I'm about to go for it, they either aren't willing to wait, which is perfectly fine, or they're too far away, in which, you know, I can't go and collect it, or they want it sold now rather than in a week's time. So, you know, I've managed to find a GH3 at a second-hand camera store, a known second-hand camera store chain here in the UK. So hopefully when I get paid, I can go ahead and get a GH3. I actually want to use it for photography. Is the main reason I want to use it, and some video here and there. So we'll see where things go. I can go body only because all of the Panasonic Micro Four Thirds lens works across their G, GF and GH range, so I can just use the same kit lens on the GH3, so I can go body only, so I can save money that way, and maybe down the road I'll look at buying some more lenses for the Panasonic G. So that's the first thing that happened. I got reacquainted with this, wanted to charge it up before I spoke about it for some weird reason. I hoped it worked better than it did, to be honest, but I think, bless it, it's now getting a bit long in the tooth and maybe should be retired. So it was my birthday, Thursday the 16th of November, if you didn't know when my birthday was, and I was umming and ahhing what I was going to do for my birthday, and in the end I decided to get back into something that I got out of a little while ago. This, sorry, just whacked the mic. This is a Meta Quest 3. Yes, I've gone ahead and got a Meta Quest 3. I've currently got this on payment plan through Amazon. I'm paying for it over the next year or so. It is what it is at the end of the day, but I used my birthday money to basically pay the first month, or down payment if you will, on this. And I also bought this, which is a Bobo, actually on at the moment, which I'm actually going to turn it off to stop it doing some weird things during this video. Okay, I think I have just turned it off. So this is actually a Bobo M2 strap with a conversion kit to make it work with the Meta Quest 3. It won't work with the Meta Quest 3 out the box. You can buy a Bobo M3 strap, which is the exact same strap, just they've changed. I keep knocking the mic. Which is just this part changed out so it can actually fit the arms of the Meta Quest 3. What I've gone ahead and done here, I've actually bought these, which are 3D printed brackets, if you will, off of eBay, and then these just slide onto the outside of the brackets, and away you go. I've been having a bunch of fun with this. However, I will give a quick sort of overview at the moment on the Meta Quest 3. I wouldn't necessarily recommend a Meta Quest 3 right now, mainly because of the battery life. The battery life on this thing is all over the place. I don't think Meta, Facebook, whoever you want to call them, has really done the research that's needed to get the most out of this I was about to say, I think that a back pad is like on upside down, but maybe it's not, because that says right, that says left. Just looks like it's on upside down or back to front to me. Anyway, the battery life is all over the place. You can play an intensive VR game and sometimes you get half an hour out of it, sometimes you get an hour and a half out of it. I have bought a battery strap, and the way this basically works, although I think this, it's actually still got one bar of battery in it. This is actually a magnetic connector on the back here, and when you stick it on, it makes a noise. If the headset was on, it would also chime, and then it gives you some extra battery. It's connected via this cord here, so you get extra battery out of it. At this moment in time, I feel that some kind of battery strap is almost required for the MetaQuest 3. This is the 512 version of the MetaQuest. These go for £620, basically. It's £619. I'm just going to call it £620. That's a lot of money for a headset that right now doesn't. And I think the 128 version is 400 and something. Don't know the exact price off the top of my head, but that's a lot of money for a headset in which it's a coin flip, literally, or a roll of a dice, to how much battery life you're going to get out of one of these. The battery straps you can buy for them, there is an official one from Meta, and there are many third-party or aftermarket ones that you can buy, like the Bobo VR. The Bobo VR is one of the more popular ones. There's the Binbok that's out at the moment. There are many different versions of these. Even Meta's own Elite battery Elite battery strap, whatever they call it, even that one doesn't behave correctly with the MetaQuest 3. It's almost like the software developers of the MetaQuest 3 didn't really understand how much more power hungry the MetaQuest 3 versus the MetaQuest 2, and they've kind of just copy and pasted the MDP, is that it? Is that what? I forgot what it's called. Power delivery. Was it power deliver MDM? Sorry, my brain's not working right now. PDM, power delivery management, basically. And the Switch is a primary example of bad power delivery management when it comes to not necessarily the official dock, but third-party docks, which is why there's been a whole thing about the Switch being bricked by third-party docks. Because the way that they do power delivery is to the ISO standard of power delivery, whereas the way the main dock does it for Nintendo isn't, because the way the Switch takes power delivery is not standard. I don't know what it is with the MetaQuest 3, whether it's a similar situation to where it does a really weird power delivery, but one good thing is the team at Meta know what's going on. They're trying to fix it. They have released a patch, an update recently that has given the end user, some additional functionality or options that you can pick, such the MetaQuest 3 runs at 120 Hz per eye or per screen over the 90 Hz of the MetaQuest 2. You can deactivate the 120 Hz mode. The MetaQuest 3, there are certain games that are MetaQuest 3 enhanced. If you remember back in the day with the PS4 Pro and the Xbox Series 1X and what have you, there are enhanced games. It's a similar thing with the MetaQuest 3. You can turn off those enhancements and they get more battery life out of it. And they have tweaked around with how the MetaQuest 3 deals with power delivery management and all those kind of things. But they're still working on it. It's still not perfect, and even post-update, people are still posting things about the MetaQuest 3 that are questionable at best. As we move through things like VR and other emerging techs of the world, the more I think, the more they go through their iterations, the more we're just guinea pigs for them in some ways, and I really do feel like that with the Meta Quest 3 is the early adopters are kind of guinea pigs for the future. I can't in good faith at the moment recommend a Meta Quest 3 because, as I said, the battery life is all over the place. I mean, what is supposed to be the least amount of energy drain on the Meta Quest, which is just watching some YouTube or Netflix. I did that the other day and it drained within 20 minutes, which is not even enough time to watch a TV show because most, the minimum length of TV shows is about half an hour, so you can't even do that really. And yet I watched a movie the other day on Netflix perfectly fine, and by the end the movie still had 50% of battery, and I wasn't even using the Bobo VR's battery on the back there. So it really is a roll of the dice at the moment as to what kind of battery life you're going to get out of the Meta Quest 3 at the moment. Having said that, I am having heaps of fun once again in VR. Beat Saber is still absolutely wonderful. There's been some updates to Beat Saber that make it even more immersive and what have you. The mixed reality of the Meta Quest 3 is fantastic. The increased clarity of the lenses, the increased resolution of the lenses, they're now basically 4K a lens, is fantastic. It's crisp, it's fast, it's really fun. It's just there's some fundamental issues with it at the moment that I can't necessarily recommend someone go out and spend the best part of £450 or £620 on a headset that can't even get the fundamentals correct, which is power delivery or battery management. I'll keep you guys updated on it. By the way, the tracking for the controllers is far better than the Meta Quest 2 or the Oculus Quest 2 as it was called back in the day. The tracking for these is a lot better, plus on the side there's now a button which is to a latch that unlatches the cover rather than it just simply being a slide off cover, which is a lot better. Didn't suffer with it personally, but a lot of people found that as they were playing VR and they were playing more intense games or a intense session of Beat Saber or something, that on the Quest 2 they're actually managing to slide off the battery cover. So I'm glad they got a button there that now latches into a clip, so they're a lot better. And I like the fact they don't have the IR ring on them anymore. The way it now works is dotted throughout the remote, the controller, are IR lights throughout the controller, and the Meta Quest 3 does a slightly different way of tracking the controllers than the Meta Quest 2. It uses inside-out tracking, but also uses AI to track where your hands are at all time, and it works pretty well from what I can figure out. And there's been a number of VR YouTubers such as Nacy, I've been watching Nacy recently, and other YouTubers that have found that for some weird reason they do better on the Meta Quest 3 than they even do on the Quest Pro, and the Quest Pro seemingly has better controllers because the controllers actually have cameras in them that track where they are in a physical space at all times, but they've actually found that they actually do better on the Meta Quest 3 than they even do on the Quest Pro. So that's a weird one in more ways than one. Maybe the AI tracking of the Meta Quest 3 is something. Maybe they need to port that to the Meta Quest Pro and then go from there. Basically. Now the Meta Quest 3 is out on the market, I am hearing that the Quest Pro is a much harder product to now recommend because of the Meta Quest 3, but obviously that's something that Meta themselves are going to have to deal with. Other than that, I got an absolutely cracking deal the other day on a coffee machine. I got the Nespresso Gemini CS220, which is a professional or consumer grade, not consumer, prosumer, professional grade coffee machine for a £5. I think a small business owner was trying to get rid of it, and I bought it with the machine itself and a bunch, like hundreds upon hundreds of coffee capsules for a £5. They're still £400 on eBay. There's one right now for £120 on Facebook Marketplace as well. There's another one for £400 on eBay. How the hell and it works. The only thing it needs is a bit of descaling. It keeps popping up saying it needs some descaling, which I'll probably buy the descaling kit when I get paid. But yeah, I am flabbergasted, and I've been drinking more coffee than is probably humanly possible the last couple of days, which is why I'm drinking a Coke here and not a coffee, because I am very coffeeed out right now. And with the last mouthful of my Coke, I'm going to sign out of this video, but thank you for enabling me, is that the word? Joining me in this video and talking about the MetaQuest and my GH1, beloved GH1, and the coffee machine that I got. There will be a video on a coffee machine very soon, to be honest, because I've been drinking coffee from it like nobody's business, and I would like to show it off. If you were, there's a bunch of videos come to the channel going forward. If I do and when I get the GH3, there'll be a video on that. Obviously, I've still got all the board games that are over there to go through at some point, and of course Christmas is coming up, so I'm sure there'll be some fun things around Christmas that I'll be speaking about. But until next time, guys, please take care and enjoy the rest of your day. Ta-ra.